expert classes.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sonny Remlinger. I'm a musician, and I'm here with the Desire Company. We're gonna be demoing a song with a pre-existing beat. We'll let you hear how this goes. Today we are using the Reaper Digital Audio Workstation. To complete this class, all you'll need are the instruments that you're going to use. In this case, an electric guitar, which is an Ibanez Fender P-Bass, over the pre-existing drum beat that we have while using the Mogami gold cable. So we're gonna start off by opening your session up. You insert a new track, go up to track, insert new track. And so for that, we are going to match up the BPM or the beats per minute to the beats per minute of the beat that we have. So over here, we've got a little thing that says the tempo. The BPM currently is set to 125. That's a default recording BPM for Reaper. So we are going to go 130 BPM because the song itself is 130 BPM for the beat that we're gonna be using. So for this first one here, we are going to go to Insert and we are gonna go to Click Source. So what it does right away is it gives us a click track that we're gonna be able to play to. We'll let you hear how this goes. We've got our beat at 130 BPM. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna reduce the size and scale of this because we're gonna be playing for a few minutes on here. And then we're going to drag our click source to the length of this. We're gonna go to about 4 minutes or a little bit over. So at that, we can have the click track playing all the way to the very end of the song. And so that way the click doesn't cut out while we're doing any tracking or anything like that. So to label, I go up here, double click in the track in track 1, and I'm just gonna type in click. So we know what that one is, and we are going to mute it for now. So this is the process of bringing in our drum beat that we've got, the pre-existing beat. So we are going to insert a new track and we are going to name this one drums. And then we're going to go onto our desktop and we're going to import this beat to right here. It says ignore tempo suggested by media. We're going to ignore that because we've already set our session to 130 BPM. So here's our song here. We're going to reduce the volume of that because it is a very, very loud track for this song. I'm going to set a marker here at the beginning. So you do that, you click to where you want, and then you just hit M. That creates your marker. So line up both things, your click source and your beat, you'll wanna line up together. You're gonna wanna make these also lined up at the end here. So this is gonna just be our drum track here. I'm gonna play you a little bit of that right now with no click going and then with the click going. So that's without the click there. If we wanna hear it with the click, this particular beat has a lot of rhythm going on. So we're not gonna necessarily need the click the whole time, but we're gonna leave it on there anyway for the tracking today. I like to keep the setup very, very simple. So for today, we're gonna be using an idea that I wrote on the guitar originally. It's essentially just a 4-chord progression in this case. So we are going to need tracks for bass guitar and we're gonna need tracks for electric guitar. So we're gonna go back up to track, insert new track. We're gonna double click that. We're gonna name this bass. And then we're gonna add one more track, insert new track again. And we're just gonna call this one guitar. Okay, so we've set up our tracks here. Obviously, you're gonna wanna make sure that the click lines up with the beat that you've just brought in. That can be a big problem later if you've set the tempo differently to what the tempo is of your pre-existing beat. Right now, we've got these two lined up. So I'm gonna play this part for you just to make sure that we've got this lined up properly. I'm gonna reduce the volume of the drums and play the click. So we're gonna hear the click louder on this next playback. And in Reaper, if you lose track of where your volume control is, essentially you're just gonna wanna go in over the volume knob here, and you're gonna double click that, and that's going to bring it back up to 0.0 dB. That's just something that comes in handy if you change the level and you wanna get it back to where it was. It's a lot easier to come back from that. So here we go, I'm gonna play this back again. Again, the chorus is gonna have a little bit of a different rhythm going through. So it looks like our tempo map on here is lined up perfectly with the beat. So we can proceed forward with the tracking of the first instrument, which will be the electric bass. In this case, we're gonna be using a Fender P bass. So for this, we've got our Fender P bass and we've got our Mogami gold cable. This is all we're gonna need to track this bass guitar. So for this, we're going to actually just plug in to the Scarlett 18i20 interface. Gonna plug directly into that 1/4 inch jack. And then we're going to go with this end right into the bass. And so with the progression that I've already written, so this is a pre-recorded beat and I wrote this progression beforehand. So the 4 chords that we're gonna be playing for this song are going to be E minor, we're gonna go to G, we're gonna go to B, and then to D, and we're gonna repeat that progression throughout the song for this demo. Start at the very beginning, so put your cursor back to 1, and then you're going to record. 1, 2, 1, 2. So right now, this is giving us the option after we stop the recording to save all, rename selected, or delete all. So we're going to delete that one because I noticed that the file was set too loud. So we're gonna go back down. We're going to reduce the volume of our input right now so that we don't have a distorted sound for the recording. Let's go back in and we're gonna record about 30 seconds of that progression here. 2, 1, 2. Okay, so that's our take. We're gonna save that right now. And then for this purpose, we're gonna go back in and we're gonna play through just to make sure that everything sounds okay. And during that process, I'm going to balance the sounds out. So the drums are not too loud for the bass and so on. We're gonna raise the volume of the bass here. And we're gonna keep the drum level down just a little bit. During this time, we're also going to mute the click track for playback so that we're not getting any of that extra sound here. Okay, so that is our bass part and our drum part together for this song, for this demo. So now we're gonna move on to the guitar part. So for the guitar recording, I've already got the melody in mind for what I wanna do for this part. So today we're going to just plug directly in. We're going to use the same mic line because we're using the same cable for this one. So whatever we were using for the bass, we should just use that same thing for the guitar tracking here. So I'm gonna go into my effects here, Same thing, we're gonna start with guitar rig, just because all the sounds are built in, they're already ready to go. We're gonna go down, I've picked out what I really like. There is one called Oil Can Echo that I like on here. We're gonna just use that. It's kind of got a little bit of sort of a delay sound. So we're gonna up our level here on the guitar so we can hear it a little bit better. We're gonna up our level here on the Focusrite on the gain control. We're gonna get rid of the decibel pad that's on here. And we're going to try this melody out that I've written for this song. So let's go back to our one marker here. Let's give it a shot. So here we get our click track back on. Drums and bass, everything should be going just fine. We're gonna turn the guitar up for the recording of this to make sure we can hear it. Okay, so that's the guitar down on there. Now we're gonna go back in and we are going to reduce the gain level of this guitar here. And then we're gonna match up the sounds and hopefully we'll have something cohesive. So far, the sound is just the pre-existing beat that we imported in and one bass track and one guitar track. So currently the song, even in its simplest form, is really only three things. And what I end up doing after that is, this is a little bit of a shortcut in Reaper, but I always go in, I zoom in quite a bit on this audio here, and I will basically go in and get everything clipped as closely as you can. Basically what you're going to do is you are going to try and replicate this beat by gluing the item into the session, and then you can pull the item to be as long as you want. So we're gonna listen to the tail end of this bass track, make sure that it ends in the right spot, and then we're going to glue the item and drag it all the way down to the end so you have way more stuff to work with. So to replicate the bass take throughout the rest of the song, which is what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go up to item, we're gonna go into that and gonna go to glue items. So that's what that does, is it keeps the whole thing in place, but allows you also to replicate it over and over all the way down to the end of the song. So if you've got a demo idea that you're doing and you want the audio itself to kind of be stretched out over a much longer period, in this case, we're gonna stretch it out to about 4 minutes so we have something to work over for melodies or for other songwriters to work with. And let me just make sure that that's solid transition for playback. Okay. So what we found right there is there's a little bit of an issue. We're gonna go back and we're going to actually undo. So here's the problem here. We're going to cut off the front of this here, cut off the front of that bass part and tighten up the end of it, and then go back up to item. You're gonna glue items. and then drag that all the way to the end of the song again. So this should be much more what we're looking for, is something that is completely cohesive and will be continuous through the song. It's gonna have a good flow to the drum and bass for this. That way we can kind of move quickly when it comes to writing the melodies, writing the lyrics to the song. Whatever it ends up being, it's just good to have this solid all the way through to the end. And now we're gonna do another playback of the drum and bass here. So there, we've got that part that's glued all the way to the end of the song. Now we're gonna go in and we're gonna do the same thing with the guitar part. For right now, at least, we're gonna want the guitar part and the bass part to run all the way to the end of the song. We are gonna go in and we are going to select that item, go up to item and glue items. It's gonna process it, and then we're going to pull that, stretch that to the end of the song. So let's make sure that that worked here. So as you can hear, the transition did work between those two parts. And so now from the top, we have a demoed song idea that just started with the progression of E minor, G, B, and D. And then we have a guitar part that started as a vocal idea and ended up translating really well to guitar. So from the top, just play you a little bit of the song. So from there, we have our demoed idea. Now we can write to it. We can write melodies over it if we want to. We can write additional parts. We can add piano parts if we want to. This allows a lot of freedom when it comes to writing, is keeping something very, very simple from the start. For me, it's really what helps the creative process more than anything, is starting with simplicity, starting with the creative side of it and not worrying about it being perfect. Just making sure that everything that you're doing is true to you, and the end of it, you get what you want. So now that we have a foundation for what the song is going to be, from there, you can add anything you want. We can go into vocal melody parts. We can go into harmonies for the vocal melodies. We can add piano parts, add anything that you want, other rhythm, anything that you're really into, and anything that captures your creative vibe. I would recommend just really experimenting, but it's really great to start with these building blocks, this foundation of just the drum beat, just the bass guitar, and just the guitar part. That provides the solid foundation to move forward with your creativity.